The secret document is here, Ibrahim Traoré whispered to himself as he rummaged through files in the dark office. It was well past midnight. For 3 days, he had been working as an ordinary laborer at the French mining company. The micro camera in his glasses was recording. Suddenly, footsteps were heard in the corridor. It was too late to change direction. The door opened, the light came on. The French security chief of the company stood before him. "What are you doing here?" he asked suspiciously. If Traoré's identity was revealed, not only would this dangerous mission end, but perhaps his life as well. Ibrahim Traoré's heart raced as he stared into the eyes of the security chief. The man's hand was already moving toward the radio on his belt. In the next few seconds, Traoré would either maintain his cover or face disaster. "I got lost," Traoré said, adopting a submissive posture and an accent different from his usual presidential tone. "This is my 3rd day here, and I was looking for the supervisor's office to submit my health forms." Security Chief Marcel Dubois narrowed his eyes, studying Traoré's dirty work clothes, the hard hat tucked under his arm, and the papers he was quickly folding. "Personnel office is in the East Wing. This section is restricted," Dubois said coldly. "Your ID." Traoré reached into his pocket, feeling the false identity card his special intelligence team had prepared. "Pierre Ouedraogo," it said, complete with his photo but with a beard and different haircut. Dubois examined the card carefully. "Why are you working night shift on your 3rd day?" "They needed people," Traoré answered. "I need the extra money. My mother is sick." A tense moment passed as Dubois seemed to weigh whether this explanation was satisfactory. Finally, he handed back the ID. "I'll escort you to the personnel office," he said, making it clear this wasn't an offer but a command. As they walked through the dimly lit corridors of the administration building of Soleil d'Or mine, Traoré was acutely aware that the documents he had photographed with his glasses, evidence of massive gold smuggling, were now safely recorded. What he had discovered was beyond anything he had imagined. The French company, officially a technical partner after the mine's nationalization, was secretly extracting more than 60% of the gold and shipping it to France without any records. But there was more. In the files, he had also found reports of forced labor in the deepest sections of the mine, areas that were off-limits to government inspectors. Workers who discovered too much often disappeared, their deaths recorded as unfortunate accidents. "Here," Dubois said, stopping at a door. "Next time, stick to your assigned areas or you'll find yourself without a job, or worse." The threat was clear. "Thank you, sir," Traoré said, keeping his eyes downcast. "It won't happen again." As Dubois walked away, Traoré let out a silent breath of relief. The most dangerous part of his mission was over. Now, he just needed to get through his final shift tomorrow, and then the world would know the truth. The operation had begun 6 days earlier in a secret underground room beneath the presidential palace in Ouagadougou. Only 3 people were present: Ibrahim Traoré, his intelligence chief Colonel Lamizana, and technology expert Dr. Ossé, a Ghanaian specialist in surveillance equipment. "The French mining conglomerate insists they're honoring our new national sovereignty laws," Traoré said, pacing the room. "They claim they're only providing technical assistance to our nationalized mines. But our treasury is seeing less than 1/3 of the gold that geological surveys suggest should be extracted. We've tried official inspections," Colonel Lamizana added. "Every time we find nothing. They're clearly being tipped off before we arrive." Dr. Ossé opened a small case. "This is our solution, the latest in covert surveillance technology." Inside was what appeared to be an ordinary pair of glasses. These contain a camera so small it's practically undetectable, Dr. Osei explained. Resolution is high enough to capture documents clearly. Battery lasts 72 hours on standby, 12 hours of continuous recording. We've prepared a complete false identity, Colonel Lamazana said, sliding a folder across the table. Pierre Ouedraogo, 34, from a village near the Mali border. New to mining, but eager to learn. All background checks will lead to carefully constructed records. Traoré picked up the glasses, considering the immense risk of what he was planning. Mr. President, Lamazana said cautiously, I must once again advise against this. The danger is extreme. Let one of our trained operatives— No, Traoré cut him off. We've tried that. 2 of our agents disappeared inside that mine last year. Besides, if I'm going to accuse a foreign power of exploiting my country, I need to see it with my own eyes. What Traoré didn't say was what truly drove him. Memories of his own father, who had died in a mining accident when Ibrahim was just 9 years old. An unfortunate accident that was never properly investigated. The plan is simple, Traoré continued. I work as a regular miner for 4 days. This gives me time to observe normal operations, gain trust, and identify key areas. Then, on the final night, I access the administrative building where the real records are kept. And your security detail? Asked Lamazana. They'll be told I'm on a private retreat. Only you 2 will know where I really am. Dr. Osei shifted uncomfortably. If the French discover a head of state conducting espionage in their facility, then they'll have to explain why they're afraid of the truth, Traoré said firmly. 2 days after his narrow escape from Dubois, Ibrahim Traoré stood before the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The hall was packed with delegates from around the world, the atmosphere tense with anticipation. Distinguished delegates, honored representatives, Traoré began, his voice steady. I come before you today not with accusations or rhetoric, but with evidence. The large screen behind him illuminated, showing the first of the images captured by his glasses camera. 3 days ago, I personally infiltrated the Soleil d'Or gold mine in Burkina Faso. A murmur swept through the assembly. The French delegation sat up straight, faces registering shock. For too long, we have been told that the age of colonialism is over, that economic partnerships between Africa and Europe are now fair and transparent. Today, I will show you the reality. Over the next 30 minutes, Traoré presented his evidence. Ledgers showing the true amount of gold extraction, 3 times what was officially reported. Documents detailing the systematic bribery of officials. Maps of secret tunnels where workers labored in dangerous conditions. And most damning of all, internal memos discussing the disposal of troublesome elements who asked too many questions. Last year alone, Traoré said, his voice now filled with controlled anger, my country lost over $1 billion in revenue, money that should have built schools, hospitals, and infrastructure for our people. The French ambassador stood up, face flushed. This is outrageous. These materials could be fabricated. This entire presentation is a violation of diplomatic— With respect, Ambassador, Traoré interrupted. Every document shown today has already been authenticated by independent experts. Additionally, he paused, looking directly at the French delegation. We have recovered the bodies of 3 workers who disappeared. After raising concerns, their families will finally have answers. The hall erupted in chaos as delegates from African nations rose to their feet, some shouting at the French delegation, others applauding Traoré. The UN Secretary-General had to call repeatedly for order. When quiet finally returned, Traoré continued, I did not come here seeking conflict. I came seeking justice. Burkina Faso will be taking immediate control of all mining operations within our borders. We welcome technical partnerships, genuine ones, but the era of exploitation is over. He looked around the hall, making eye contact with delegates from other African nations. I invite my fellow African leaders to conduct their own investigations. You may find, as I did, that what we've been told and what is happening are two very different things. The international impact was immediate and seismic. The French government, caught completely off guard, initially denied everything, claiming the evidence was fabricated. But within 48 hours, faced with mounting pressure and the detailed nature of Traoré's evidence, they were forced to launch an official investigation. 3 days after Traoré's UN speech, French police raided the Paris headquarters of Minerais Global, the parent company of Soleil d'Or. What they found only confirmed Traoré's allegations and revealed that the corruption extended far beyond Burkina Faso to mines across West Africa. The French Minister of Economy resigned. The CEO of Minerais Global was arrested. Financial markets reeled as gold prices surged amid questions about how much of the world's gold supply was tainted by similar practices. African leaders, emboldened by Traoré's actions, launched their own investigations. Within a month, 7 other countries had discovered similar schemes, leading to a wave of mine nationalizations across the continent. For Ibrahim Traoré, however, the most meaningful consequence came when he visited the village of Tankoano, where 30 families had lost relatives in mining accidents over the past decade. Standing before them, not as a president but as the son of a miner who had suffered the same fate, he announced the establishment of the Mining Families Compensation Fund, which would be financed by the recovered gold revenues. "Your loved ones paid the ultimate price for our nation's wealth," he told the gathered families. "Their sacrifice will never be forgotten, and their deaths will never again be in vain." An elderly woman approached him, her eyes filled with tears. "My son disappeared 5 years ago," she said. "The company told me he had run away, abandoned his job. I knew he would never leave his family." Traoré took her hands in his. "We found records of what happened to him, Mother. He discovered one of their secret tunnels. He will receive justice, and you will receive the truth and compensation you deserve." The woman looked into his eyes. "You risked your life to find this truth?" "Yes," Traoré said simply. "Then you are not just our president," she replied. "You are our son too." In the weeks that followed, security around Ibrahim Traoré was drastically increased. Intelligence reports indicated that several private military contractors had been approached about a potential removal operation targeting him. But Traoré refused to be intimidated. In fact, he doubled down, establishing the African Resources Sovereignty Alliance, ARSA, a coalition of African nations committed to maintaining control of their natural resources and sharing intelligence about exploitation attempts. At the inaugural meeting of ARSA in Ouagadougou, Traoré addressed the gathered leaders. "What I did at Soleil d'Or was dangerous, yes, but the greater danger lies in allowing the silent theft of our continent's wealth to continue. For too long, we have been told that we need foreign expertise, foreign capital, foreign markets. The truth is, what we need most is transparency and fairness." He paused, looking around at his fellow heads of state. "The era where Africa's riches enrich everyone except Africans is over. We do not seek to exclude international partners. We welcome them. But partnership means shared benefits, not exploitation." The assembly erupted in applause. Later that evening, in a private moment with Colonel Lamizana, Traoré reflected on the ripple effects of his undercover mission. "Do you think they'll ever forgive you?" Lamizana asked. "The French, I mean." Traoré looked out the window at the city lights of Ouagadougou, thinking of all the positive changes that could now be funded. New schools, better hospitals, improved infrastructure. "Forgiveness implies I've done something wrong," he replied. "I haven't. I've simply exposed the truth, and the truth, painful as it may be, is ultimately the foundation of any lasting relationship between people or nations." He turned to his old friend. "My father used to say, a wound cannot heal if it's covered up. Perhaps now, finally, old wounds can begin to heal and we can build something better together." 1 year later, the Soleil Dormine operated under full Burkinabe control, with profits tripled and safety standards that exceeded international requirements. The mining family's compensation fund had provided support to hundreds of families and funded education for over 1,000 children. Most importantly, a new model of resource management was emerging across Africa, one based on transparency, fair partnership, and national sovereignty. As for Ibrahim Traoré, his approval rating soared to unprecedented levels. There was talk of him receiving the Nobel Peace Prize for his courage in challenging the neo-colonial economic structures that had dominated Africa for decades. But for Traoré himself, the greatest reward came when he visited the newly renovated and expanded school in his home village, a school built with the reclaimed gold revenues and named after his father. Standing before the children, many of whom were the sons and daughters of miners, he shared a simple message: never be afraid to seek the truth, even when the path is dangerous, for in truth lies not just knowledge, but freedom. A small boy raised his hand. "Mr. President, were you scared when you were undercover in the mine?" Traoré smiled. "Yes, I was. But there is something more powerful than fear, the belief that your people deserve better. Remember that, all of you. Fear is temporary, but the truth endures forever." As he walked among the children, shaking their hands and hearing their dreams, Traoré knew that the most valuable resource in Burkina Faso was not gold or any mineral. It was the potential of its people, finally free to determine their own destiny.